All right, and then I'm going to make you host.
Where's Donna? She said she was
Okay.
like 2 hours.
All right, are we ready, ladies?
Yes.
So this is Otescia Johnson. She is my favorite business coach, not only business coach. And I really love her. I love her. I know that you guys are going to enjoy what she has to say because I know that what she has to say is going to be dynamic. So I'm just going to turn it over to Miss Otescia.
Well, good evening, ladies. Good evening. I'm so excited to be presenting to all of you. A couple of housekeeping things. This smile is hiding a lot of allergies and congestion. So please forgive me if you happen to hear my voice go out or if I sneeze or something like that. I promise I'm clean and I don't have COVID, but you can't get it through the screen anyway. So we're all good. So I am super excited to be talking to all of you, mostly because I remember where I was in my life when I needed to be courageous, when, I did not know where my life was going to go literally from one day to the next. And so, my intent here tonight is just to share a little bit of my story and encourage you along the way, give you guys some nuggets, some things that I did that greatly helped me when I was a single mama of 4. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4, and did not necessarily understand how my life was going to shape up in the way that I always dreamed for it to after I ended up going through a divorce. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope that you guys will be able to see it. I don't know how large the screen is that you are viewing on, but hopefully you'll be able to see it again. The title of my workshop is Betting on Myself, My Family, and My Future. And of course, it's called this because this is exactly what I had to do. So why am I the person that's presenting this to you? Number one is because I know what it feels like to need courage just to get out of the bed in the morning. In May of 2005, so literally 16 years ago from today, I was preparing for a divorce. I was living in a state with no family, very little friends. The only people I knew were the people that I went to church with, and it was a small congregation. So I didn't really know anybody. I have 4 children, ages 3 to 8. I only had a high school diploma. I didn't have a degree. I had very, very, very little money. And I was struggling with questions about my faith. I didn't understand how, this guy that I love so much and served so hard did not save my marriage. I blamed him. It wasn't his fault, but I did, I'm just being honest. I did not understand how I was going to be able to feed 4 people. It felt very unfair that, I didn't make 4 children by myself, but I ended up having to provide for 4 children by myself. And so there were a lot of just emotions, right? There were a lot of things that I had to process, a lot of things that I had to accept at a time where I didn't want to accept it. I just wanted my life to be better, right? I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to be courageous. I didn't want to take the steps. I just wanted to wake up and everything be better. But the truth of the matter is, you don't just wake up and things are better. You have to put in some work. There's some foundational truths that you have to understand about yourself. And when you understand those things about yourself, it makes it so much easier for you to get up in the morning and do what you need to do. It's not a quick fix. It is an everyday commitment to being the absolute best version of yourself that you absolutely can. And so here's a couple of things, a couple of lessons that I learned along the way that I'm going to share with all of you on tonight. Lesson number 1, the thing that I had to settle within myself is that I was and will always be amazing. I don't care what anybody says, like no one can make me think anything different about Otescia. I know this to be true about myself, not because I own multiple businesses, not because I published 13 books, not because I'm a business coach, not because I'm a minister. I know this to be true about myself because who I am, the fiber of my being is absolutely amazing. My mind is capable of coming up with creative solutions to significant problems. And so when a situation presents itself, I don't have to cower in fear. I literally just have to settle myself and hear what the solution is to this problem. And so that's like the first takeaway that I want you guys to really remember. You have everything that you need on the inside of you to be able to come up with solutions to these problems, even when they feel significant, even when they feel like the problems are going to overtake you. You already have what's on the inside of you to be able to come up with solutions. Why? Because you are absolutely amazing. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are intelligent. You are bright. You are creative. You are a beautiful soul inside and outside. And so because of that, regardless of what you're facing, you will always be able to bet on yourself, bet on your family, and bet on your future. Number two, the other thing that we're going to talk about tonight, I couldn't help my children until I helped me. And sometimes that can be a touchy subject because, we always feel like, oh, it's selfish if you're putting yourself first. These kids need you. They didn't ask to be here. But the fact of the matter is, if I'm not healthy, I can't be a healthy mom. Like, I have to be a healthy woman first. I have to be a courageous woman before I can be a courageous mom. I have to be a confident woman before I can be a confident mom. And so the work had to start in me. I had to start making some decisions about who I was going to be as a person before I could ever try to do anything on behalf of the children. And then number three, my life's order was not a mistake. Like, I was exactly where I needed to be when I needed to be there. So it was yesterday's lessons that prepared me for the success of today. Your life's order is not a mistake. I don't care if you've never been married. I don't care if you had 10 children by 10 different fathers. Your life's order is not a mistake. You are not required to live by society's standards of what your life is supposed to be. The order of your life happens the way that it happens because it's preparing you for something tomorrow. So don't take on the shame and the guilt that the world will try to put on you because, oh, well, you have this last name and your child has that last name. And so what? First of all, I can name my kid what I want to name my kid, if you want to be real technical about it. And secondly, what does that have to do with me making this child a whole and healthy contributing member of society? So the way that your life is currently going, the steps, the things that you've experienced from the day you were born until now, it was not an accident. You haven't just been making one mistake after the other. That is just a trick of the enemy to keep your mind held into a place of bondage. But you have to understand that you are exactly where you need to be and you're there when you need to be there. All right, so let's really go in depth a little bit more on point number one. So I want to ask you guys some questions, and I don't know if I'll be able to see your responses, but you can raise your hand. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I want to ask you if any of these sound like you. Do you secretly fear that you don't have what it takes to give your children everything they need? That was one of my biggest fears. I felt like, here I am, I have all four of these kids. All I have is a high school diploma. Like, what am I going to be able to give them? What am I going to be able to, how am I going to teach my child how to finish college if I didn't? That's how I was feeling at the time. It's a lie, it's not true, but those were my feelings. Do you sometimes worry that a lack of money will ruin their childhood? I did because I grew up very poor. And when you're in the thick of it, it can feel like money is everything. But when I talk to my children about their childhood, they don't talk about money. You know what they talk about? They talk about the games that we played. They talk about family night. They talk about all the weird stuff that I made up because they were bored and hyperactive, and I would make up weird games, and I taught them how to improv, and we would play acting games, and we'd play spelling games, and all these weird nerdy things that they thought we were doing just to have fun, but I was really coming up with something to do. That goes back to your mind being able to receive a creative solution to problems. The problem was I had very active children and very little money, so I couldn't afford to take them to a museum every weekend. And so I would have to come up with creative things for them to do at home that didn't cost us anything. And I wasn't going to be at the park 12 hours a day. I just couldn't do it. We lived in Georgia. It was hot. So I had to come up with things that they could do at home that didn't cost us any money. Do you sometimes suffer from mom guilt when you have to work, when you'd rather be spending time with your children? That was me. I mean, literally crying on the way to work, not understanding that what I was doing was showing them the value of hard work and commitment. I was showing them what it means to be a person who keeps my commitments, because I had a commitment to be at that job at a certain time. So I did not understand that I was showing them what that looks like in real time. All I felt was I just would rather spend all of my time at home with them. Next question. Do you sometimes beat yourself up when your child mentions wanting you and daddy to be in the same home? Like literally they would cry themselves to sleep and I would cry myself to sleep. Or do you become angry do you become angry at the absent parent when your child longs for someone who doesn't return the sentiment? Again, I was on that side of things as well, where the child is crying because, and I'll just be transparent. When I remarried, I ended up with my husband's 2 children from his first marriage, and their mom just would not be available. And so I have these children who are longing for her and crying, and it doesn't matter how much love I give them, you know, they still want the love of their mother. Like they know she gave birth to them. And so, you know, that anger would attempt to rise, because here I am trying to fill a void that only someone else can fill. Those are very, very, very real feelings. And the last question, do you put your wants, needs, and dreams on the back burner because you feel it is selfish to focus on you while you have children to raise? That was me as well. Thinking that if I was going to have healthy children, I just needed to pour all of my time and all of my energy into them. And then my dreams, I'd be able to pick them up later. I would do it after like so many things. When I got divorced, I said, oh, I'll get married again after my kids are grown. That's literally what I said. I will get married again when my children are adults. I didn't want to have to deal with the co-parenting, not necessarily co-parenting with the outside parent, but co-parenting with a new person that I was going to marry. And so I just said, you know what, forget it, because I don't want to go through that. What I did not understand is there was a divine order in play for my life that was going to make that whole process so much smoother than what I ever imagined. So point number 1, and here's the truth, a very cold, hard truth. You are enough. You are enough. And listen, we hear that so often, like sometimes it even sounds like a cliche, but in the moment when all of those questions that I just asked you are going through your head, you don't feel like enough. In the moment, sometimes you feel like a failure. Sometimes you feel like, you know what, I didn't get this right. I missed it. I missed the mark somehow on this. But the fact of the matter is, you were born with everything you need to be an absolutely amazing mama. Everything that you need, it was already on the inside of you. Here's the thing though, you're not going to be able to tap into those things until you take the time to start focusing on you. Start start a dream journal. Sit down and just write out what your dreams would be. If money was no option and then there was no risk of failure, what would you do? Like what did you dream of doing before life happened? Before you grew up and people told you that you needed to get a sensible career, you know, before you had children, before you had responsibilities, what did you dream of doing? So the first thing that I had to do when it was time to dig myself out of this hole and really start betting on myself is I had to get back in touch with the young girl that was on the inside of me, the Otescia who wasn't afraid. Like she would just daydream and spit stuff out. Like I remember I was 15. My mom and her best friend, I was like, I'm going to build my first house from the ground up when I'm 25. And they just laughed at me. But I wanted to get back to that girl who had these big ideas and these big dreams on the inside of her. And so I started communicating with her. I would just journal about, you know, the things that I thought about when I was young, and I would write letters to her. And then I would ask myself, what's stopping you from picking up the baton where she dropped it? And that really was the beginning of me learning how to bet on myself. That's literally the reason that I named my company Bet on Yourself Enterprises, is because I need a reminder. Every single day, I need the reminder to keep betting on myself, to keep doing the thing that I've always longed to do, but I allowed life to stop me from doing it. And what has happened as a result of that, I have a daughter who is a singer. I have 2 sons who are rappers. I have a son who is now in the military in Korea. I have a son who is in Utah. He got married last year because he stepped out on faith. He's like, I saw what you and my dad have, and I want it back. So by me betting on myself, I now have raised children who are not afraid to bet on themselves. I have children who always come to me, Mom, what do you think about this business idea? Or how do you think I could work this? Mom, will you help me get this business off the ground? And my answer is always absolutely. And I understand if I would have never started to believe that I was enough, to believe I was educated enough, to believe I was intelligent enough, to believe I was talented and skilled and innovative enough, I would have never started to bet on myself. I would not have had the courage to believe that Otescia is good stock. And see, it requires you understanding that you are good stock first before you can pour that into your children. You cannot give them what you don't have. So that confidence, it's got to come in you, that willingness to take a risk, the willingness to do something that seems absolutely crazy. Like, it seems crazy that a Black woman would decide she wants a publishing company, and not just a little bitty publishing company, but a big publishing company that's going to take the world by storm. That seems crazy. You want to know why? Because there's no Black female executives at the top of the publishing industry. There are 0. If you look at all of the big 5 publishers, there's no Black women. There's none. You might see some Black women writers. You might see us on the bottom of the totem pole as like editors or script readers, but you don't see Black women at the top of these companies. So that seemed like a crazy thing to do, but I just had enough faith in myself. Like, you know what? I think we can pull this off. And within 3 years, we've helped over 60 authors bring their book to the market. That's the kind of thing that I'm saying. You have the ability to do those things, and having your children have a front row seat to that. You cannot buy that kind of education. You can put them in the best private school there is and spend the most money that you can afford to spend. But at the end of the day, the best education they're going to get is going to come from you being courageous, from you betting on yourself, from you taking the risk, from you being consistent and committed, from you being diligent, setting up a plan and working that plan. This is how your children are going to grow into people who believe that they can literally do anything because they watch you do anything. They watch you create something out of nothing. I remember we had to make some upgrades here in the house. And one of my kids says, Mom, now I see all those hours that you're always in front of the computer. It's paying off, huh? Yeah, it actually is. All this time that you guys heard me say, Mom's going to be out of town doing this, and Mom has to travel to speak here, or I can't talk right now because Mom's writing another book. This is the fruit of that labor. Something else that I did that was really helped to keep the vision in front of the kids. I got a whiteboard, and I would write my schedule on the whiteboard. And so I would tell them, they knew when I was going to be out of town, where I was traveling, what dates I was going, so they knew when I was coming home. And then I would tell them, like, if you need me to do something, check the whiteboard so that you can see when I'm out of town, and then we can schedule in what you need for me to do as well. So some people would look at that and say, oh, that means that you're putting yourself and your business in front of your kids. No, I'm teaching them the value of committing to build something. I'm teaching them the value of committing to bet on yourself. So now they had a structure, and now they are included in this business. So they got to see in real time their parents build a business from the ground up. They saw me sit up hours and hours and hours and type that book, that took off and caused everything to change for our family. So we were very strategically sowing seeds inside of them. So now they're not afraid to step out on faith. When my son got out of the Air Force, I said, "Are you coming back home?" He said, "Nope. I'm staying here in Utah." You know how expensive Utah is? Now he has a great job. He has a great wife. He has a great life as a result of him being willing to believe that he had enough on the inside of him. And the only reason he knew that is because he watched his parents walk it out. All right. Point number 2, don't do it for the children, do it for you. Never, ever, ever make the decision to be happy or to go back to college. Don't do it for them. It has to be for you. You have to build you first. Children will always learn what they live. And so watching you lead a full, courageous, fulfilling, and healthy lifestyle will teach them to do the same. All right. So one of the stories that I like to tell, we were living in California, and I was walking pretty much every day. I was walking like crazy, 5 or 6 miles, like after work, like a crazy person. But I was doing it because as I would take those walks, of course, it was a health journey, but it was also because it was allowing me to really think and kind of just get my mind in the proper alignment. And it was a very difficult transition at first for my teenagers because they were so accustomed to me coming home and then doing everything for them. But I made the decision during this time of my life to do something for me. And as a result of that, what I noticed was it was no biggie when I would say, "Hey, I need you guys to start dinner and I'll finish it because I need to go for this walk first." They were like, "Okay, Mom." They got on board. When they saw me doing things for me, they got on board with the process. They began to do things with them. Sometimes if they wanted to talk, they would say, "Mom, let me go on the walk with you." And they would walk with me. But I wasn't doing it for the children. I was doing it for me. I didn't build this business for the kids. I built this business for me because it was something on the inside of me that needed to be fulfilled. And so in taking that leap and betting on myself, I was able to teach the children to do the same thing. This is how you create a legacy. This is how you bet on your future. It's by you making the commitment to do the thing that's going to lead you to that healthy, whole, that fulfilled place. There's something to be said with when you are so sad that your children are so accustomed to watching you cry sad tears. You know how, when you're maybe your 1-year-old, your 2-year-old, 3-year-old, they see you crying, you're like, "Don't cry, Mommy," and they'll climb up on your lap and they'll wipe your tears away. And it's adorable at that age. But when they start to get older and they get so accustomed to seeing Mommy sad that they don't even feel bad anymore. You're like, your tears don't even faze them anymore because they've watched you be sad for so long. What that does is it teaches them that this sadness is a way of life. And that's what we never want to do. You want them to see you doing so much for yourself, to see you happy, to see you fulfilled, that it then doubles over, it boils over, it spills over into them. This is how you're going to be able to be the best courageous mom possible, is by you making the commitment to consistently better yourself. And listen, there are going to be people, they're going to be naysayers who are going to consistently tell you that this is not what you should be doing, that you're selfish, that you should be thinking about your kids more. And why are you flying all around the country doing things when you have children? Like, the naysayers are always going to have things to say. But at the end of the day, you have to go back to, I am enough. I am able to make quick and accurate decisions. Like, you have to start speaking those affirmations out over yourself so that the doubt doesn't creep back in. And even if you don't feel like you have a business on the inside of you, maybe if you just have a hobby, something that you really, really love, when is the last time you sat down and have had a play date, like with yourself? I read Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes every year. And one of the things that she says is, she says yes to play. So one of her daughters would come up to her and be like, hey, mom, do you want to play? And she was always working so much that she would say, no, not right now. I don't have time. But when she was on the year of yes, she had to say yes to things that she would ordinarily say no to. And so she started saying yes to playing. And what started as her just sitting on the floor playing dolls with her daughter turned into her actually playing, actually enjoying this time of, doing things that were fun and things that were exciting. And I vowed to keep that as a part of my life. So yes, I'm going to do DIY projects around the house because it's fun for me. Yes, I'm going to go and do something ridiculous for myself because it's fun for me. I'm going to say yes to doing things that bring me joy, things that bring me peace, things that bring me happiness. Because if I'm fulfilled, then I can show up for them in the way that they need for me to show up. All right. So we're never going to do things for the children. We're always going to do things for you. The motivation has to be you being fulfilled, you being happy, you being whole. All right. And let me just say that sometimes the things that I had to do for myself was I had to go to therapy. Okay. I had to have somebody to talk to. I had to get some of this stuff out of my head because a lot of the things that I was playing, it's like I was playing a track in my mind that was like consistently telling me I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And I had all these unspoken rules in my head, and those rules were stopping me from being free. Like that is bondage when you can see something but it feels like it's so far away. Like every time you stretch out your hand to try to grab it, it feels like it's going further and further away from you. That is absolute bondage. And it's a mental cycle that sometimes you might need therapy. You might need just somebody just to bounce it off of so that you can learn how to stop the repetitiveness of those thoughts so that you can control what your mind is focusing on. And then it'll help you to be able to make different decisions in the future. All right. And then point number 3. Your story is a success story, right? And so this is my family, me and the hubby and all of our gang. And this is kind of an old picture because like I said, they're in the military, they're out here living their best life. So we haven't all been in the house together for a while. But the fact that we were able to take this picture, this is actually in our home downstairs in front of our fireplace. We were able to get a photographer to come in and do pictures in our home. This is the success story. So when I was, going through the divorce with the 4 kids and no money and no college degree and not sure how I was going to make things happen and didn't even fully know how I was going to make ends meet. Like I would literally have to pay my rent in 2 separate payments at the time because I just I couldn't do it all at once, or I wouldn't be able to buy groceries or, But what I now know to be true is every tear led me here. So I have 6 healthy adult children. I have a whole and healthy marriage. I now have a college degree. I now have, like I said, multiple businesses. I now have 13 published books with multiple being bestsellers. I now have a coaching program with, multiple, 24 or so women who are literally taking the world by storm, who I push them and they rise to the occasion. But none of that would have happened had I not been that broken woman with 4 babies, laying on the floor crying, not sure how I was going to make ends meet. I had to go through those things. And those things were not the sad before. It was all a part of my success story. From day one, when the doctor smacked me on my butt and said it's a girl, until today, it was all a success story. It's just like, Kirk Franklin tells that story of how when you're baking a cake, the flour by itself is gross if you try to eat it alone. The eggs, you don't want to just crack a raw egg in your mouth. If you've ever tasted vanilla extract, it's gross. Like all of the ingredients might not taste good alone, but when you mix all those things together, and when you put them under the fire, come on, somebody, let's talk about the fire. When you put all the elements and all, I heard somebody say, yeah. When you put all of the ingredients together and you put them all under the fire, you get something so much more beautiful on the other side. But you have to remember the whole process is a part of your success story. There would be no beautiful family of 8 had there not been a broken family of 5. You know, there would be no strong and powerful women had they not come from a mama who had to figure out how to make it work. They would not have been able to have any of these things had they not seen me walk through what they've seen me walk through. If they had not seen me be committed to this end process, none of this would have happened. So I never look back and be like, ooh, that was such a horrible before. I wish I wouldn't have gone through it. No, you need every single ingredient of your story because all of it is contributing to your cake. And we all like cake. I don't know nobody who don't like cake. Cake is always good. So you need all of the elements. You know, have you ever had somebody who made a cake and they'd be like, I didn't put no butter in it. I'm like, how you make a pound cake with no butter? That ain't no pound cake. That's gross. But again, butter by itself is nasty. It doesn't taste good. So my whole point in sharing this is you needed every tear. Even when I didn't understand why I had to become a single mom, I would do all of it all over again, because it got me to where I am today. You need every element of your story. And listen, you're successful today because you're not where you were 10 years ago. You're successful today. You don't need the husband to be successful. You don't have to wait till your children are grown to say that you are successful. You're successful today. Why? Because you're on a retreat to take care of yourself. That's a success story. Some of you 2 years ago would not have dared to go on a mom retreat. Some of you 3 years ago would not have dared to make this kind of investment in yourself. So this is your success story. And so if I had to issue a challenge to all of you, I would challenge you, take a picture of your family as it is today and post it as your success story. Because you don't become successful, you are successful. You just grow to new levels of success. Success is not determined by you getting a certain number of awards or you having a certain amount of money in your bank account. Success is determined by who you are on the inside and how healthy your family is. And families look completely different. And that's absolutely okay. Because I guarantee you cannot tell which of the children in these pictures that I did not give birth to. You would never know. But this is all a part of the success story. So it doesn't matter how your family looks today. It doesn't even matter how your family is going to look tomorrow. Your story is a success story, and it's a success now. All right. You wear many hats, but you wear them all well. So take a moment to start patting yourself on the back, even if all you do is before you go to bed at night, start making keeping a record of what you did well. Right. Just one thing, I'm grateful that today I said I was going to accomplish this and I did. You know, I keep a journal next to my bed. So sometimes I still have to pull those things out because it can feel when you're wearing a lot of hats, sometimes it feels like things are falling. And we try to go after that immeasurable balance. Like there's no such thing as balance. You know, I have to give myself to what needs me the most in this moment. So it's more so about prioritizing than it is about achieving some perfect state of balance. You know, your job, your goal, your mission right now has to be for you just to wear your hats well. And you may feel pulled on, you know, baby may need you, or older child may need you, or work may need you, or you may need you. Sometimes I just need me. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be a wife. I don't want to be a mom. I just want to be Otescia. And so I need me in that moment. So that means I have to prioritize me. Right? If it means just me taking a drive by myself, if it means me and I just detest grocery shopping, but I will go to the grocery store and put my headphones in and walk slow so I can have some time to myself. Right? So it's about you wearing all of your hats well. It doesn't mean that sometimes you're not going to feel like you dropped the ball, but choose not to feel that mom guilt, reject it, and just instead decide it's another day that I'm going to bet on myself. It's another day that I'm going to choose to step out on faith and do what previously felt like it was going to be impossible. It's another day I'm going to make the decision to make sure that my tomorrow is better than my today was. Right? So utilizing that tip to pat yourself on the back at night. It's okay. Here, I used to say, I kept these kids alive. Yes, I deserve a trophy. You have no idea what they were doing. Like the boys were jumping off of stuff. The 2-year-old was trying to shave. Like I kept them alive and I fed them real food. Like I would literally sometimes be like, let me give you some grapes and some crackers and some cheese and some meat. Is that all the food groups? Oh no, let me give you some carrots. Like literally, I would be going through all the food groups. I'm like, they feed them this kind of stuff at school for lunch. I'm tired. I'm not turning the stove on. But I succeeded because I kept the tiny humans alive and I gave them real food and I got them to bed on time. That's all I need for a win today. And so just patting myself on the back for those small things, which I call them small, but then it felt like the world. Like I felt like I had a cape on my back. Like I did the thing because they didn't die. Like nobody died today. I'm laughing, but that's legit how I felt in the moment. They didn't die. Lord, I kept them alive. They're clean and they're fed and they're in bed on time. That's a win for me. And so I would live from those wins every day until I felt strong enough, until I felt built up enough to, let me start a daycare. So I sold all of my living room furniture and I started a daycare. And that's how I took care of my kids, so that I didn't have to put the baby, the youngest was too young to go to preschool, and I didn't want him to go to a daycare. So I started a daycare in my home. I didn't have any money, so I sold my living room furniture and turned the living room into a daycare. That's how we started to get money. That's how I paid the bills. And then I signed up for the federal food program that you get with the daycare. And they give you so much money to feed those kids. I could feed all the daycare kids and the food for my house because they give you a check. And so that's how I bought groceries. Like I just figured out how to make it work. And I lived in a military town, and the moms were always like, wanting to go out because the dads were deployed. And so I started doing overnight care for kids, $50 a night per kid. They wanted to go on a girls' weekend, send them to my house. They're gonna be asleep anyway. Plus, I got 4 kids. What's 4 more? Like, I have so many kids in my house. What's a couple more? Like, it's not gonna hurt anything. And that's literally how we stayed afloat. Even when we went overseas to Germany, like I got a great paying job while I was over there. And then one commander left and a new commander came in, and I didn't like her too much. And my husband was like, I don't think you should keep working there because, they're going to end up saying something wrong to you. And then I'm going to end up getting in trouble for it. So I was like, well, I got to quit my job now. All right, well, these kids still have to eat. And yeah, we're in the military, but we still have bills. And so I was like, well, God, what am I supposed to do? So I started, I went to it's called ACS, and I signed up to be a respite care provider. And they paid me $25 per hour per child. So I started doing that. You see how I had 4 children. I've been a mom since I was a teenager. Taking care of children was innately a part of me. I helped to raise my brothers. This is why I can say that, every part of your story is valuable, because when provision was needed for me for many years, I'm talking about a couple of decades, it was always childcare, because I knew I could love children well. I could keep them alive. I could feed them healthy foods. And so that was what became provision for me. But had I not gone through those things, I would not be so comfortable taking care of all different types of children. I've taken care of twins. I've taken care of children with special needs. I've taken care of children overnight. I took care of sisters who didn't even speak English. How I did that, I have no idea, but I kept those girls multiple times while their mom and daddy went on ski trips. This was the provision that came into my hands based on what I was good at. So how did I get into a publishing company? I started writing my own books. I was good at writing. I started publishing them. I started making some money. People started asking me to help publish them. I just leaned into what I'm good at. That's all I do. Everything that I do because I'm good at. So it's about you when you're putting on all these different hats, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming. Instead of you allowing it to make you feel overwhelmed, lean into the things that you are good at. Which one of those skills can bring some money into your house? Which one of those skills can you offer as a service to somebody else? Which one of those skills bring you the greatest joy? Because listen, I make jokes about taking care of children, but I love children. I would much rather be with children than adults most days. Even when they have me running behind them like a chick with my head cut off, I still love to be around children. I get to do what I love, and it also brought provision into my household. And so when you're kind of looking at all of the different responsibilities that you have, I want you to also take inventory of what you can also do that will help transform your life. That's another way for you to bet on yourself. That's another way for you to step out on faith and do the thing that you were previously afraid to do. Just do what you're naturally good at. Real talk, I really don't do things that I'm not good at. Like when I have to do something that I'm not good at, I literally try to find a way. Can I afford to hire somebody else to do this? Like I live to not have to do things that I'm not good at. If I can get out of it, I absolutely will. But I do things that I'm good at because number one, it makes me feel good because everybody likes to do things they're good at. So it makes you feel better about yourself, but also it's an easy path to provision for you, which can make your life a lot better. And then it also proves to you what you're capable of doing. Like when I would set goals for like the month, especially when I was doing respite care, I would say, how many families can I support this month? I wonder if I do 10 hours with this family and 10 hours with this family and 10 hours with this family. Oh, I can do that. That's only 30 hours for the whole month. But keep in mind the amount of money you're getting paid per hour per child. So if I go to a family that has 3 children, I'm making $75 an hour. I'll take that. So you don't even have to work, yourself as hard as you typically would. So as you're like looking at all the different responsibilities that you have in your life, yes, you wear all of your hats well, but also ask yourself, which one of these hats can I really lean into? And what soft skills do I have? Like the things that come natural to you, the things that you exhibit really in your home life. Which of those things can generate revenue for me? And so me and my family can go to the next level. Like I wouldn't be Otescia if I didn't talk to you guys about betting on yourself, really just from a business standpoint. Even if you don't want to, really step out as an entrepreneur, maybe you just want to have a little side hustle. And that's good because side hustles can make you some good money too. But I wouldn't be me if I close this out without talking to you guys about just, what is it that you can do that can bring additional resources into your home and really take you and your family to the next level. Maybe you can use that as a way to set up for savings for your children's college, or maybe you can, just set up a CD for them, or, maybe you can start investing in some stock for them. Even it doesn't have to be, I hear people saying sometimes, well, I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I don't need to do that. And I'm like, well, there's always going to be a tomorrow. The future is always going to come. And so maybe this is, money that you can put into investments. When I first started investing in the stock market, and I am by no means an expert, but I literally started when people would tip me. I would take whatever came from the tips and I would put that into buying stock. And that's how I started. It wasn't very much. It was literally like $20 here, $25 there. But that's how I started to start investing and learning about how to invest. Everybody can always, stand to have additional revenue coming into your home so that you can start planning for the future. We're not living just for today, but you want to make sure that you're leaving a legacy, making sure that when you're gone, that there's no debts that are still left that your children are going to have to, be concerned about taking care of. So, just want to leave that with you all as well. You have enough on the inside of you. You are enough. You have everything that you need to be who you need to be to your children. They're not going to lack anything. They were given to you for a reason because you are highly capable of steering them in the direction that they need to go. Don't listen to what society has to say. Your family is a success story, not will be a success story. You are a success story even now. Your family is beautiful. You are beautiful, and you have everything that it takes to bet on yourself. That's it for me. I'll stop my share now. I can't hear you all that well. I don't know if it's on my end or on your end.
There we go. So does anyone have any questions for Otescia about betting on yourself or anything?
Summed it all up.
She did.
Yeah,
she did so
just
good.
there's no question.
Right, there's no question, like she just,
Boom.
it's
Yeah.
what it
The
is.
question I had was answered.
Yeah.
You encourage me.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Well, good. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, Otescia, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm laughing because I heard myself. I don't know who.
Yeah, I heard you too.
I don't know where that came from. So there's feedback somewhere in the house, and I heard myself on the like. She don't hear us.
Oh, you heard yourself on the monitor.
Yes. Well, very good. All right, you guys good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you, Otescia. I'll see you in the morning, or hear you. Yeah, see you in the morning.
All right, everybody take care. Have a great night.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye. Taisha, do I need to end this or give you hosting back?
You be hosting back, I think.